Good morning, friends. Welcome back for our second best life class. Today, we're going to be focusing on wellness and nutrition. So, we're going to be talking about finding a balance between our physical, mental, and spiritual health, and how, in order for us to live the best possible lives we can, the balance that we need to keep in those areas of our lives. So first up, we're going to talk about having a balanced diet. So it's really important every day that we try to hit all of our major food groups because they have all of the different nutrients and vitamins and minerals and all that stuff that we really need to have throughout the day. So you probably remember seeing these on the food pyramid or My Plate. They have fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, dairy, and fats and oils. So those are the things that you need to try to get some of every day. And if you're not sure of exactly how much you need, you can type into Google, type in My Plate, and it'll tell you exactly how much you need in each of those areas to have a balanced diet. So some of the signs of poor nutrition that we may see could be unexplained fatigue. That can be caused by iron deficiencies that, if not treated, could turn into anemia. And it'll just leave you feeling tired all the time, and you don't know why. No matter how much you sleep or rest, you just always feel exhausted. Another thing you might feel is dry or brittle hair. So your scalp just may feel itchy, or it just doesn't feel good. Or your hair might break. You might brush it and it starts to come out in your brush. And that can be the result of a deficit in essential fatty acids, protein, iron, and different nutrients like that. And ridged or spoon-shaped nails. So if your nails have kind of like waves in them, or if they're, instead of being like outwardly curved, they're kind of like sunken in like a spoon, you might have anemia, which would be caused by an untreated iron deficiency. So another sign of poor nutrition to look out for can be issues with your mouth, such as cracking or inflammation at the corners of your mouth. That could be caused by riboflavin, or B2 deficiency, or an iron deficiency. So if the corner of your mouth gets real cracked or red, and it just kind of hurt, it's going to probably hurt to open it to eat or to speak or to take a drink. It's just going to kind of feel unpleasant. So that's something to kind of look out for. Another thing is if your tongue is unusually pale. So your tongue is normally like kind of a darkish pink red color. So if it's looking like really pale pink or like a whitish color, or if it's swollen, that could be a sign of an iron or a B vitamin deficiency. And lastly, this one's a condition called burning mouth syndrome. So I don't know if you guys or me, and as soon as food comes out of the oven, I like to eat it. I don't like to wait for it to cool off. But if you have ever taken a bite of pizza or a Hot Pocket right when it comes out of the oven or the microwave, and it's really, really hot and it kind of burns your mouth, that's what this is equivalent to. So burning mouth syndrome is whenever your mouth it feels like it's on fire, but it's just out of nowhere. You don't have to be eating anything for it to feel like that. And it's very, very unpleasant. So if you are experiencing that, it could be caused by an iron, zinc, or B vitamin levels that are just not where they need to be. So if you're feeling any of these things, you might need to get that checked out. So diarrhea is another one of the signs of poor nutrition. So if you have chronic diarrhea, that's where you just go a lot. And that can be a sign of malabsorption. So that can be where even though you are really trying to get all those nutrients in your body and you're doing everything right, for some reason your body is just not touching those nutrients. They're just there, but they're not being used like they're supposed to be. So that's what malabsorption is. The next is apathy or irritability. So this can be due to your body not having enough energy. So if we don't have enough energy, we're kind of sluggish, we're tired, we just, we might have a shorter fuse, you might not be able to handle people as much on days where you just don't have the energy. So things to think about there. If you're not fueling your body up, you're not going to be moving as well. It's just like a car, if you don't put gas in your car, you don't give your car energy, it's not going to go. And that's how it is for us too. Food is our fuel, but we got to make sure we're giving our body the right fuel. Last up, we have a lack of appetite. So this can be caused by different nutritional deficits. So if you're just not hitting those marks where you need to be as far as like eating the right things, you can just kind of get to where you just don't feel like eating. You might not feel great because you're dealing with some of these other symptoms, and your appetite's just gone. And that can make it really hard too to get everything back in balance, because if you're not hungry, you're not going to eat, and if you don't eat, you're going to be lacking in even more nutrients. So it's good to try to just keep on track as best you can to avoid some symptoms like that occurring. So next it's kind of opposite of the last point that we were talking about on the previous side. This can be for when you have an issue with overeating. And overeating can be caused by either you're just not feeling full enough, like you're not getting those nutrients that you need, so your body's just not feeling filled, so you keep eating, trying to fulfill that. It could also be because you're bored or you're stressed out. So these are some ways to kind of curb your appetite, but in a healthy way. So you can eat more protein, opt for more fiber-rich foods, pick solids over liquids, drink coffee, but like plain coffee, not like that Starbucks and like Dunkin' Donuts with all the sugar and sweeteners and stuff. Fill up on water, so like have a bottle of water with you, and try to drink it before you eat, so that way you can kind of fill up more on water than overeating. Eat mindfully, just kind of be aware of when you're going to eat. Are you leaning more towards things that are healthy or things that are unhealthy? And be mindful of how often you're eating, and kind of be mindful of why you're eating. Are you eating because you're bored, because you're sad, or because you're actually hungry? Get enough sleep, stress less, indulge in dark chocolate. So little pieces of dark chocolate can be good. Use some ginger in your food, put some spices in your meals, eat on smaller plates. It can kind of trick your brain into feeling like you're getting more food than you actually are. Use a bigger fork, exercise, lose body fat around your middle section, eat omega-3 fats, opt for protein-rich snacks, and visualize the foods you're craving. So if you're really hungry, or you think you're hungry, maybe you're just bored. I do this. I boredom eat and I stress eat. Try to think about like the food you like, because odds are if you're craving a food, you've had it before. So some different things that you might crave. Maybe you're craving ice cream. Instead of going to the fridge to get it, maybe just pretend you're eating it. Trick your mind into thinking you're eating it. Think of how it tastes, how it smells, and that might be enough to satisfy your brain. One thing that isn't listed here, if you go online, you can find, sometimes if you're craving certain things, it can be because your body is needing something. So if you're craving sweets, your body's needing something. If you're craving like salty foods, your body's needing something. So you can go and look at those and see maybe what your body's trying to tell you at those times when you're having those cravings. You can figure out what your body's trying to tell you. So next up, we're going to talk about the importance of exercise. So like having a healthy diet, exercise is important in order to maintain our overall wellness. So some ways that exercise can do that is it can reduce our risk of heart attack. Having a heart attack, it can manage our weight. It can help to lower our blood cholesterol, our risk of type 2 diabetes and some cancers, and our blood pressure. It can also help us to have stronger bones, muscles, and joints, and lower the risk of developing osteoporosis. So a lot of the time we might think of when we say being strong, we think of having strong muscles because we can see our muscles, but we can't see what our bones look like. But it's really important to try to keep exercising to make sure you keep that bone mass, that bone density, your bone bone strength because it's going to help you when you get older. A lot of the times you might see somebody who's older, if they fall, they're more prone to breaking their hips, knees, different things like that, just because that bone density is less. Their bones are getting weaker. It can also help to lower your risk of falling. It can keep you, like if you go in the hospital or you're bedridden, it can help you to recover from that a lot easier. And it can just help you feel better overall and more relaxed. It's really good for your mental health as well to exercise. So those are just a few things of just why it's important to make sure that we keep up on exercising. So here's some exercises to do if you want to lose weight in a healthy way. You can go for walks, you can jog or go running, you can cycle, so like bike riding, weight training, interval training, and that's just where you do an exercise for 30 seconds, you take a little rest, then you do another exercise for 30 seconds, take a rest. Those are really nice because you get those built-in breaks. And I do those workouts and I love them. So those are some options as well. You can do swimming, which is really good because it's low impact. If you have, if your joints ache whenever you go for walks or run, it can be good for that, to let you still get exercise but not cause you to hurt either. You can do yoga or Pilates as well. So these next exercises are for helping to tone up your muscles. So if you have any areas of your body where you may have, it might not be as toned or as muscular as you like, this can help with that. So these are all things that you can do at home, especially if you have weights. You can do lunges, push-ups, bending windmill stretch, squats, dumbbell rows, 180-degree jump, arch up, sit-ups, arm raises, and abdominal stretches. So go ahead and pause for a minute and try to do a few of these and see if there's any that you would like to do at home. So our next exercises up are going to be body weight exercises for gaining muscle. So when it says body weight exercises, that's when you're using your own body mass as the weight. Like you don't have to go out and buy dumbbells or anything like that. Like you're using your own weight. So this is like running, jogging, push-ups, crunches, dips, pull-ups, and squats. And like Pilates is good for this as well because it uses a lot of your own body weight as far as like doing planks and stuff like that. And it's really good for not only toning up your body, but adding some muscle as well. So our last exercises that we're going to go over are ones that we're going to use if we need to relieve some stress. So we have Pilates, like we mentioned on the previous slide, dancing. If you took part in Trina's Zumba class a few years ago, that's an example of a dancing workout. It's a lot of fun and it's good for you, and it's definitely helpful in relieving stress. You can do yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong. We actually did that on Tuesday for group fitness and it was very relaxing. We did a beginner workout and it was about 30 minutes long. Here at the end of this slide, you can pause for a minute and do this shorter beginner workout to see if you like Qigong as well. You can also do walking. Walking is great for stress relief. It's a very slow pace. You can do it actually at whatever pace you want. If you need it to be slower, you can take in the sights. It can be very relaxing. You can do circuit training, so that's like stations. You can break things up and do a little bit here and then jump into another workout and then another workout. You can play tennis. You can even garden. Now that might not seem like a workout, but if you've been out with Ann at the Homestead Farm Center, you know the gardening is a workout. Because you got to water all the plants, you got to weed the garden, you've got to check and see how everything's doing. It's a process and it's definitely a workout, but it's also very relaxing because you're getting to, you use your hands, you're getting to see all these beautiful things grow. It's a very rewarding form of exercise. So now we're going to shift our focus and talk more about mental health and the importance of making sure that we have the right balance in that in order to lead the lives we want to lead. So we're going to talk about, first up, stress. So I think this year it's especially important. This year and last year, given with COVID and all the stress that COVID has caused, it's really good to talk about stress and know stress and know how to handle it. So we're going to talk about 5 different types of stress. We're going to talk about acute stress, episodic acute stress, chronic stress, distress, and eustress. So with acute stress, so that's stress that it's usually pretty brief. So that could be like maybe you're stressing out about a test that you have to do, or maybe a doctor's appointment, something's stressing you out, but it's just for a short period of time. And once that event's over, the stress of it will most likely be gone as well. So symptoms of that stress are you have transient emotional distress. So emotionally, you might feel anger, you might feel irritable, anxious, or depressed. Physically, you may feel tension. Could get a headache, you could have back pain, neck pain, jaw pain, and muscular tension that could lead to injury. So if you're tensing up your muscles a lot, you could be more prone to maybe throwing your back out or hurting something else. You can also have issues with your stomach as well. So you could have heartburn, acid stomach, gas, diarrhea, constipation, all of that as well. And then you can have hyperarousal symptoms. So that can be like you have high blood pressure, your heart starts racing, your pulse is beating fast, you have sweaty palms, your heart feels like it's just not beating right. You can get dizzy, have migraines, cold hands or feet, shortness of breath, issues with sleeping, and chest pain. Next up is episodic acute stress. So this is when you have acute stress, but it comes in these frequent waves. So you're having these short periods of stress and they'll go away, but then they'll come back and then they'll go away. And it happens maybe a couple times a day or a couple times a week. But they can become more and more frequent. So the symptoms for this are going to be pretty much the same, but you're going to be adding some intensity to them because you're adding more intensity and frequency to the stress. It might make the symptoms worse, and it can also start to weaken your immune system. It just starts to wear your body down. Just stress it's a horrible thing to have your body constantly exposed to, but it will take its toll over time. Next is chronic stress. So chronic stress it's long-term stress. Like it just doesn't go away. And it's the most harmful to your body. And if it's left untreated, it can cause a lot of damage that it can't be fixed. Sometimes this can happen if you are maybe stuck in a life situation that it's just bad and you feel like you can't get out of it. That can lead to chronic stress depending on how long you stay in it or have to stay in it. It can also it can actually change the hardwiring of your neurobiology. So that's like the signals in your brain. It's going to change how you respond to things and how you see things. It's going to change you because your body's just it's taking all this stress and it just doesn't know what to do with it. So it's going to start to change the way that it responds to different things. It can require longer medical and psychological treatment that includes behavioral and stress management. So depending on how bad it gets, you might need to go stay in a psychiatric facility or go to a medical center and just try to seek help. And there's nothing wrong ever with trying to seek help, especially for your mental health. But it's things to keep in mind. The longer you let it go, the more work you're going to have to put in order to reverse it. And sometimes it can't be reversed. So things to keep in mind there. Our next type of stress is called distress. And this is negative stress. So when you hear the word distress, think of negative. It's not good. So it is anxiety inducing. It can be short or long term, so there's no real time frame on it. We can feel like we're unable to cope with this. So it's just something like it feels like it's completely out of our control, and no matter what, we just can't beat it. It can feel unpleasant. It can decrease our performance, maybe in our jobs or just stuff around the house, little things like that. And mentally and physically, problems can come from having this as well. Different causes of distress can be having a death in the family, a divorce, being hospitalized, experiencing an injury, unemployment, sleep issues, legal issues, and sometimes your job can be the cause of it, depending on whether you like what you do, you're overworked, or you're underqualified. But one thing to keep in mind is not all stress is bad, and that's what we're going to see on this slide. We're going to talk about a positive type of stress known as eustress. So it's a positive stress. It's a good thing. It can be very motivating for us. It's usually short-lived. We're able to cope with it, and it makes us feel really excited, and it can increase our performance. So if you're performing in an athletic event or a competition or anything that brings you joy or excitement, you kind of get that adrenaline rush and you get really happy. So that's eustress. That's positive stress. So some different causes of eustress can be if you get a promotion or a raise at work, you get a new job, you get married, you buy a home, you have a baby, you move, you vacation or you're on holiday, you retire, you take classes, or you're doing a new hobby. So it's something positive. It's something that is exciting. So if you're going to be stressed, this is the type of stress to have. It's a positive thing. So now that we've talked about these different types of stress, we're going to talk about ways to regulate those emotions. So some things that we need to try to work on in order to maintain that wellness balance that we need. We need to identify what we're feeling. So right now I want you to pause, and I want you have a piece of paper in front of you, and I want you to draw or write exactly what you're feeling right this second. It can be a bunch of scribbles. It can be 1 word, 2 words, whatever you want, but describe what you are feeling in this present moment. What are you feeling? So I hope that exercise wasn't too hard, and maybe it was eye-opening to see if this is an area that you struggle with. It can be something that maybe you need to work on every day. Maybe a couple times a day, take a minute and say, how am I feeling right now? What am I feeling? It's good to get to know yourself, and that way you can know things that stress you out or people that stress you out. It can help to know your triggers and to it can help you to better prepare you to handle different situations. So our next up, we need to talk about accepting your emotions. So whatever your emotions are, you gotta accept them, right? I know. I'll use this as an example. Imagine you have a friend that hurt you, or a family member, somebody hurt you. They hurt your feelings. They did something that wasn't nice, or they just made you really upset. And imagine that you never dealt with that. You just pushed it down. And you pushed it down and you pushed it down and you pushed it down and you never dealt with it. Imagine that you're in a pool and you have a ball and you're pushing that ball down in the water. And you're pushing it down and you're pushing it down and you're pushing it down. You're pushing as hard as you can. Eventually, your arms are going to get tired from holding that ball down. And that ball is going to gain some energy being pushed under the water. And eventually, it's going to blow. That's how your emotions can be. If you don't handle things in the right way, sometimes they all come out in a way that could be worse than, whatever it is that caused you to feel so upset. So it's things like that you have to work on and try to handle as best you can. But you have to start by accepting whatever it is that you feel. Next, you can keep a mood journal. So if you're having a hard time maybe accepting emotions, I would suggest keeping a mood journal. And that way you can write it out. That way you're getting it out. Maybe if you're not ready to talk to somebody about it, that's fine. But if you journal it, maybe that'll help you to gain some perspective on why it is you're feeling this way. And it can be very therapeutic in and of itself. The next step, it might seem silly. I know. But taking a deep breath. So obviously we all know how to breathe, right? That's an involuntary thing. We do it without even having to think about it. But are we being mindful of the breaths that we take? Do you ever take the time to be mindful and think, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to take a deep breath in through my nose and breathe out through my mouth, right? Those deep breaths, they're very thoughtful and they can be very calming. If you did the Qigong exercise, I'm not sure if the shorter one will have the breathing exercises in it like the longer one, but they normally go over breathing as well. But I'd like for you to pause a moment and try to do some breathing exercises, just a few deep breaths, taking a few breaths in through your nose and filling up your lungs with air, and then out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And see if after a few of those, if you feel a little bit calmer, you're being a little more mindful of the way you're breathing and how your breathing can impact your body. I hope that exercise helps you to feel a little bit better and maybe will serve as a coping mechanism for you in times where you get really stressed. Another way to help with our emotional regulation is to know how to express yourself. So sometimes you can express yourself through writing. You can express yourself through words. You can express yourself through painting, through singing, anything. You can find a way to express yourself, but you have to be sure that you're getting out those emotions that you're feeling, that you're able to talk about them in whatever format that you need to. I know I'm not one for sitting and talking about my feelings a lot. It's kind of uncomfortable for me, but it can be helpful. And maybe if you're not ready to share those feelings with others, you can just channel it into something more productive. But that way you're expressing it and you're getting out that negative energy that you might be having. So our next thing that we're going to talk about is giving ourselves some space. I don't know about you guys, but I know I need a break from myself because I get on my own nerves. I don't know if anybody else gets like that, but whenever I am very anxious, I annoy myself. I tell Justin that all the time. I would go, oh my gosh, I'm annoying myself today. And sometimes you need to take a break from yourself. And I know that's hard because, well, where can you really go? You're kind of stuck, right? But some things that you can do to kind of get that little escape, do things that you like. Whether it's, watching TV, playing games, taking a nap. Something as simple as taking a nap. If you like taking naps, take a nap. I know I enjoy painting. I love to paint and watch my funny shows. I like to watch The Office. Things like that, my brain kind of turns off for a while, and it's very refreshing because in those moments I'm not worrying about anything. So think of that the next time you're really stressed. Think about just taking a little break from yourself. Do something fun. Next on our list, you'll notice is all capitalized because it's really important. And I may be a little bit biased because, I majored in psychology. So, and I did want to be a therapist at one point in time. So I may be a little biased on this. But I do think therapy is very, very important. Sometimes we have a hard time talking to those closest around us because we have a fear of being judged. And sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger, especially one that, when you go to therapy, you have that confidentiality. You can have that moment of just talking about your feelings and, they're not going to run and tell somebody. There's not going to be gossip about it or anything like that. That's kind of comforting. And therapists know a lot of good tools to help you. They can help you find your coping mechanisms or to help identify stress or things that are setting off anxiety in you. And they can also, depending on if you go to a psychiatrist or not, you can sometimes be prescribed medication. Sometimes people need that, and that's more than fine. Another thing is our last thing here is to stay on top of your stress. Stay on top of it. You have to. You have to constantly work at it. Just like with anything in life, you have to keep working on it. Like your diet, you have to keep working on it. Exercise, you have to keep working on it. Your stress, you have to keep working on it. Because the more you let it go, the harder it's going to be to control. So the more you stay on it and you do these things and you seek out help if you need it, it can make a lot of difference. So before we go on to the next section, I really just want to add that if any of you ever feel like you're dealing with anything, don't ever think that you're going through it alone. You always have any of us at the DAC to come to, no matter what. Your mental health is so important. It's so important. Coming from personal experience, I have been diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and I know how isolating and lonely that can be at times. But when you have a great support system, it makes it so much easier to deal with. And I want you guys to know that you do have that at the DAC. And you can come to any of us at any time that you need. Go to your parents, go to anybody, but be sure to talk about your feelings and let us know anytime if you feel anything like this negative stress or just anything. Just always come and let us know. So last up is spiritual health. And spiritual health, that's what gives us a sense of meaning and purpose to our lives. It's what gets us out of bed every day. And it makes us excited to be alive. It's our goals for our lives. The goal to be a good person and to feel love and to be loved and to give love. It's our morals and values and ethics that's, it's different for everybody. But it's who we are. It's what we believe in, what we fight for. And it can be found through so many different things. It can be found through religion, having that sense of fellowship and family and closeness to God. So much spirituality can be found there. You can find it through volunteering places. When I first started volunteering at the DAC a few years ago, I felt such a strong sense of just family and peace, and I just felt fulfilled. I just felt so fulfilled because I was doing something that I loved. And now that I, get to work at the DAC, I do have that sense of meaning and purpose, and I do feel very fulfilled spiritually because, the DAC is home and it's family. You guys can find this too. You can find it anywhere. You can find it out in nature, right? You can go outside and watch the leaves blow on the trees or watch the snow fall like it was yesterday. Whatever makes you feel like you're, at one with the world, as cheesy as that sounds. But just it's different for everybody. Not everybody's going to feel the same sense of spirituality. It's going to be tailored to you and your personality. But it's really important to have it because it's what's going to keep that balance for our overall wellness. If this is out of whack, we're going to be more prone to maybe being depressed or anxious. So find what you love and hold on to it and do what you love and just try to hold to your values and just be a good person at the end of the day, which I know I don't even need to tell you guys because you're such amazing people. But at the end of the day, just do good and be good. That's all we can strive for.